NDG, Côte de Neige, but it seems he may have withdrawn himself from the competition, so it may be that Sue Montgomery is the default Projet Montreal candidate for mayor of Notre-Dame-de-Grâce NDG, Côte de Neige, and I felt it necessary to bring it to the attention of Projet Montreal that Montreal Unitarian Sue Montgomery is totally complicit in pretty well all of the injustices, abuses, and hypocrisy that I've been protesting against outside the Unitarian Church of Montreal for years, and that includes the Unitarian Universalist Association's immoral and unethical and borderline criminal and yes, batshit crazy attempted misuse of Canada's blasphemy law and clergy sex abuse cover-up and denial of legal bullying, but it also includes various other injustices, abuses, and misuse of the Canadian Criminal Code and SPVM police power to try and shut down my protest. And unfortunately, Sue Montgomery actually even involved herself in some of the attempts of the Unitarian Church of Montreal to misuse, the criminal justice system and SPVM police power to force an end to my protest. So it's not just a question of, being aware of the various injustices, abuses, and hypocrisies that I'm protesting against and doing absolutely nothing to speak out against them and thus being totally complicit in them. But it's also a question of, on some occasions, Sue Montgomery did in fact directly participate in efforts that the Unitarian Church of Montreal initiated to try and force an end to my protest outside the church. So, someone who abuses her influence in that way, to me, is not someone who should be the mayor of not just Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, Côte de Neige, but any Canadian municipality. The abuse of power, the unethical conduct, I think, in my view anyway, in my opinion, which I'm allowed to have according to the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, I have freedom of opinion. In my opinion, Sue Montgomery is not suited to be the mayor of any Canadian municipality as a result of her previous proclivity to abuse of power and her clearly less than ethical conduct. And I should add that Sue Montgomery falsely accused me of libeling her. When I spoke publicly about Sue Montgomery's involvement in, first of all, her complicity with the Unitarian Universalist Association's misuse of blasphemy law and refusing to report on it in her capacity as the Montreal Gazette's justice reporter, and in her, zero evidence of her speaking out against it. And again, in terms of her participation in efforts to shut down my protest, which in part is about that, but certainly about other clergy abuse and clergy sexual abuse and so on. Sue Montgomery tried to silence me by arranging to have Montreal media lawyer Mark Banty have me served with a cease and desist demand letter, which accused me of making libelous statements about Sue Montgomery. And, the statements which Mark Banty claimed were libelous in this cease and desist demand letter were actually very truthful statements that are supported by evidence. So they're in no way libelous. They're very truthful, and in most cases have some solid evidence supporting them, even hard evidence, such as documents and so on, but certainly a lot of circumstantial evidence too. Nothing remotely libelous about my allegations about Sue Montgomery, and yet, she had the unmitigated gall to arrange to have Mark Abley accused me of libeling her. And Mark Abley, he's normally working for, the newspapers. He's normally working for the Gazette as a newspaper and other Montreal media institutions and so on, to say nothing of media institutions outside of Montreal. So it's kind of unusual to see Mark Banty representing an individual reporter like Sue Montgomery, and I have reasonable grounds to believe that this was not just a question of Sue Montgomery persuading Mark Banty to have me served with this useless and worthless and bullshit cease and desist demand letter, but she may well have had the full backing of the Gazette. This may have been something that the Gazette as a newspaper basically approved of and facilitated and so on, that this may well have been not so much Sue Montgomery threatening to sue me for libel, but the Gazette as a newspaper being fully behind this. So I made it clear to Mark Banty that he was full of shit. If you don't mind my being a little bit blunt here and a little bit rude. Yeah, I said, "You're full of shit, Mr. Banty." I mean, I didn't put in those terms, but I just made it clear that, there was nothing truthful in his allegations about me libeling Sue Montgomery. And I essentially said, "Bring it, let's go," I'd be only too happy to see Sue Montgomery in court and get her to, have some sworn testimony. That could get very interesting. I also offered to forgive Sue Montgomery for falsely accusing me of libel if she formally withdrew that accusation and apologized for it and actually told the truth about Unitarian Universalist misuse of blasphemy law to hide pedophilia and rape and so on. But she declined that invitation for some conditional forgiveness. She totally ignored it, as did Mark Banty. So essentially she rejected it, and so she's not forgiven. It's that simple. So when it became clear to me that Sue Montgomery was seeking, some political power in the form of the mayor of NDG, Côte-des-Neiges, and I believe that she, basically has too many ethical flaws, too many instances of abuse of power already, I thought I would bring this to the attention of Projet Montreal and indeed the whole City Council of Montreal. So I basically questioned Alex Norris about the fact that some time ago, following Sue Montgomery falsely accusing me of libel, he had confronted me and had angrily accused me of libeling his friend Sue Montgomery, and he demanded that I cease and desist from allegedly libeling her, and he actually used that term, cease and desist, in this conversation I had with him. Then I came back and I said, "Well, no, I'm sorry, Alex, everything I'm saying about Sue Montgomery is true, or truthful, and supported by evidence. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not libeling her." And I followed that up by sending Alex Norris a Facebook message to the same effect. I'm not libeling Sue Montgomery. I'm telling the truth about her. I provided him with links to blog posts and videos and so on that provided evidence supporting my claims that of what I'm saying about Sue Montgomery. And I asked him to apologize. And he did not apologize. But it wasn't clear to me whether he'd actually made an effort to try and determine the truth. So that was the question I asked at the City Hall, the City Council meeting this Monday evening. Hi. Hi.
You've been here for a decade.
2, actually.
I was going to say that, I just didn't want to...
I started in May 1998.
Okay.
So it's, coming up for 2 decades, yeah.
Okay.
They're very stubborn people here.
Do you have any interaction with them?
Well, I have interaction with them and they have interaction with me, but it usually consists of erasing my chalk slogans and me posting the videos to YouTube and that sort of stuff.
There's no verbal interaction, really.
Well, other than confrontations during the protest, I mean, I have repeatedly told church leaders that I'm prepared to suspend the protest for 2 months if they want to enter into dialogue to try and settle, and they always refuse. So they don't want to talk to me. I don't mind talking to them, but they refuse to talk to me, so yeah.
Okay.
So it goes.
Okay, and nothing has changed in terms of...
Well, there's all kinds of things have changed in terms of escalation.
No, I mean...
But yeah, in terms of the original issues, they've done absolutely nothing to address them. Yeah. They're stubborn people, like I said.
Yes. You too.
Well, yeah, but only in reaction to their stubbornness.
Okay, in other words, they started it, right?
They started it, and they don't want to finish it. I'm just going with the flow.
Okay, you just come on Sundays.
Mostly. Sometimes if they have a special event or something, I'll do that too. But yeah, I'm not here during the week most of the time. It's usually just the Sunday service.
You haven't...
And it's usually just when they're going in. It's rare that I'm here at this time when they're going out, but for reasons... oh shit, just hang on a sec. Okay. I thought my freestanding picket signs had disappeared, but it's not the case. Yeah. No, I forgot. I didn't take them out because it was too windy. But I normally have a couple of freestanding picket signs.
You haven't considered changing your affiliation to some other...
Even if I change my affiliation, that doesn't change the problems. You know, they have serious problems that they need to address, and not just in terms of me. You know, the issues I'm protesting about affect other people. So, yeah.
Diane has been there a long time?
Yeah, Diane's been there close to a decade now, yeah. So, unfortunately, she refused to enter into dialogue with me, and here we are.
That's strange, because the Unitarians have at least a public reputation.
Yeah, a public reputation, yeah.
A little bit freer than most less orthodox than most...
Yeah, they're, you know, in quotation marks, a very liberal denomination, but they do some very illiberal things, including having me falsely accused of violating Canada's blasphemy law. Not the church locally, but the head office in Boston hired a lawyer to accuse me of the criminal act of blasphemy.